All right, welcome back to Stumblin Forward. I am one of your hosts, Kristen Herman.
And I'm Monica Ortega.
And that's Monica Ortega. Today we're speaking to Megan Sontag, and actually AKA Blue, which if you ever watch the video, you'll see with her blue hair. That's why. But I'll probably be referring to her as Blue because it's cool. Well, Megan is a visual artist with a niche in multiple mediums, primarily focused on photography for over 20 years. She is the owner and creator of Sontag Photography. The pandemic of 2020 allowed her the time to add jewelry design and painting to her artistic pursuits. Thank you for joining us, Megan. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
All right. Well, I would like to start with where you're from, how are you doing, and what do you do?
Well, you covered part of that, but I'm in Chicago, Illinois. That's where I'm based. In non-pandemic times, I'm available for travel and clients worldwide. That's a little bit shut down at the moment, shall we say. So since February, I've mostly been home. So yeah, I've had to figure out things to do with my time, and I've always had interests other than photography that were creative. And so that was kind of, I think for 6 weeks, I was probably just like really sad and like, what am I going to do? It was a little bit panic mode. And then I was like, you know what? Let's be productive. Let's channel this energy and turn it positive and figure out stuff to do. And so that's been after I figured that out, much better.
So what did you do before, like when you traveled for work?
I've done travel for boudoir and for weddings.
For photography?
Yes, photography.
Ah, okay. Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like everyone kind of had that transition period where it's like 2 weeks of, oh, I don't know what to do. And then like, all right, kick it into high gear. I got this, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's how I was anyway. So I think that that's helpful. But how did you get into photography in the beginning?
Photography, I've always had a big passion for music, but no skills or training in any regard. So I was looking for something that I could be really passionate about. And I'd had cameras since I was like 6 years old, but it didn't click for me as like, this is what I really want to do until I was like 15 and I was at a live music show. I had my first like real camera. It was a Canon film still. And I photographed a band and I was like, this is really cool that I get to kind of participate in the show in this way that I'm capable of participating. And I felt like a synergy with it. And like, I was like, this is really fulfilling. I really enjoy this. And after the set for that band, I went up to the band table and I was like, hey, are you guys ever interested in photos? And that's way outside my comfort zone. I'm outgoing, but like just walking up to people and be like, hey, this is what I do is not really like my jam. So I was like, let's do this. Gave myself a little pep talk and just went up and asked that question. And their response was, how much? And I was like, whoa. So that was right
at
there.
That point, did you even have prices at that point? You probably didn't even know.
Not. This thought had occurred to me about 45 minutes ago. No.
You're like, let me get back to you on that.
Like, just give me your email. Because I was like, I don't have answers to these questions. Yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Hit it up. Like, I'll just email you. It's cool. So that's how I started going to shows and photographing. And that was my kind of musical contribution, was just being able to vibe the music and photograph it. And I never really made money doing that, but it was very fulfilling in every other way. And I miss like touring with bands and stuff. If I could do that and make money, I would still be doing that.
So is that why you transitioned into like wedding photography and boudoir, was just that it was like more financially stable?
Viable? Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, photography is just kind of the medium for me. I really like to make people feel good about themselves and present them in like an interesting and creative light. So like the genre of photography honestly isn't as important to me as just kind of like the individual person or job. I feel a little bit like MacGyver, if I could be so bold. I really like different things. So it keeps me from being bored, honestly. If I were to pick just one niche and go 100% into that, I think I would get bored really easily. And then my creativity would be stifled.
And so you said that you were using like actual film. So did you have a dark room, and did you know how to do all that, or did you take it somewhere?
I've never done the darkroom thing. I've done some cross-processing and fun stuff through labs, but other than that, not really. So for me, it was all in camera. So that's where my training comes from, is on the fly, books. I used to email photographers that I admired and be like, hey, can I email and ask you questions? Or, hey, can you do a portfolio review? And none of that was ever comfortable, but, you know, I was like, this is what I should do. I need to, you know, talk to people and get out there and learn. So that was a bigger priority than my comfort.
Good for you for like putting yourself out there and doing that. I think that that's like one mistake. I know Kristen and I have talked about that, of like imposter syndrome, feeling like I don't belong in this world, especially at the beginning. So to put yourself out there enough to ask other people for advice, I mean, that's super brave and very good advice.
Yeah, afraid to get rejection. I feel like that's the thing, is like why I always feel like I can't ask, you know. I'm like, well, they're just gonna say no, or they're gonna be like, figure it out yourself, and like, you know, then be like, okay, like, sorry. Yeah, so that's what I'm always afraid of, but that's really brave.
But you know, I think that's kind of awesome though, because honestly, the worst thing someone can say to you is no. And really, how painful is that? Like, you can recover from a no. And if you can't, then you might need to do a little self-work, because, you know, a no really isn't that bad. Like, you should be able to handle that. It's okay.
Especially for people you have no connection with already. Like, you're not losing anything.
Right.
If you shoot off an email and no one emails you back, like, you probably shouldn't cry for a week. Like, it's gonna be okay. Like, it's just an email. It's just a question.
Like, when was like the time in this that you were like, okay, I can make a living at this. I can really do this and go all in?
Well, I mean, I had day jobs. I did like serving jobs. I worked at a dry cleaners when I was in my teens. I've done all kinds of different jobs. I've cleaned houses. I don't think it's the business side has never been my strong suit, to be perfectly honest. The creative stuff is it's always come much easier to me and has been my strong suit. So the day when I can afford like a business partner person to just handle all my logistics will be a happy day. But, you know, stumbling forward, right? Like, just kind of figuring it out as I go and doing the best I can. And, you know, when I've had to have multiple jobs to be able to still pursue my passion, I've done that without any shame. You know, like, you have to do what you have to do, and I'm not going to give up what I want to do. So if I have to do something else to make that happen, I'm okay with that, you know?
I think that's a common theme too. It's like, if you're going to really pursue something that you're passionate about, there's a lot of hustle involved, especially behind the scenes and working other jobs and things like that. So tell us like a little bit about the pivot that you made. You said in the pandemic, you know, doing different things at home. Like, what kind of different things are you doing now?
Sure. And that's one of the funny things, is when you're in this really weird situation with like everyone else in the world, you're kind of all together separate. And you're like, what can I do from home? Like, exclusively, what can I do without leaving my house? And I'm one of those people that really likes kind of self-challenges. So if I can put myself in that frame of mind to look at things as not an obstacle, but a challenge, I find that they're much easier to get through and to break through. So what I did is I started doing photo challenges at home, and I posted them even on my Facebook, and I invited people to join if they wanted to. So like, I do like a theme for a week, and that would keep me kind of on task, because if I didn't put like a deadline on something, I could sit at home and wallow or eat cake or whatever I wanted to do. But if I had like a task to accomplish, that kept me accountable, because I'd shared it with other people, and you know what I mean? So like, I had to live up to what I said I would do, because that's very important. And so I did, tabletop photography, and I did self-portrait challenges. And then it occurred to me that I could be painting right now. And so I started painting because I've always kind of wanted to do abstract painting. And when stuck at home, one can abstract paint. And then I also, I've always tinkered in jewelry and kind of fashion design, but I've never really sat down and kind of like figured that out. And I am in the midst of figuring that out. And I have a jewelry line that's ever expanding and getting more complex and interesting. And that's kind of where a lot of my focus is now.
Do you have a name for your jewelry line, or are you just going with Sontag Jewelry, or?
It's Sky by Stone. So instead of the word by, I put an X in there. So to make it a little bit more interesting. So it's like Sky and then the letter X, Stone Jewelry at Instagram right now.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And then I know that you're working on a photography book. So
yes.
You are accumulating everything for like all your photography with headshots or just landscape?
No, actually, this is a completely fresh concept. Right before the pandemic, of course, I had just done my very first photo shoot for it. So it's currently at a full stop until the pandemic has alleviated. But it's a concept I haven't seen done. I've teamed up with a kind of awesome chef in St. Louis, and we are creating this amalgamation of portraiture with people kind of wearing food as fashion. So very like,
oh, that's so cool.
Intensely interesting, avant-garde, but with food.
That is cool. So kind of like a Lady Gaga meat dress feel.
But way more intense, yes.
Way more intense?
Lady Gaga.
Yes.
How is it? Oh my gosh, I felt like that was really intense. And Cool. So what would you say to someone who's trying to get into your field? Like any mistakes that you feel like you've made that you wanted to share, or anything along those lines?
And I mean, I'm mostly self-taught with photography. I've had, like I said, some mentors, some people I've emailed or had portfolio reviews with that were super helpful to have those people as touchstones. And now there's so much video content that you can digest for free. Like there's really no excuse to not be good at something you want to do at this point in 2020. Like there's so many resources, even from home, that you can accomplish. One of my favorites for an at-home resource would be Sue Bryce. Sue Bryce has incredible education, both in business aspects of photography and also in every little minutia, from posing all the way through how to talk to clients. She's incredible. And she has a website you could go to and fully sign up for that. There's lots of conferences. There's a new one in Chicago that got postponed now till next year, but its first year was last year in 2019, called ClickCon. That was an amazing resource. I met a lot of really awesome people at that, and great education, world-class, teachers. It was awesome. But part of what I did, I think mainly was going through kind of some body language books and trying to understand how, when I photograph someone, what that communicates to the camera. So just trying to have a deeper understanding of how you can artistically capture a person that not a lot of photographers would get into. A lot of photographers aren't really, honestly, even trained in posing. So that's usually a weak point for most photographers. So if you can understand the psychology between, what you're communicating, your work should be stronger, I would think.
That's so cool. I've never heard of doing that for photography. And it's also a good point to figure out the weak points that people in similar fields may have, and then figure out how to set yourself apart. And another point that you made that I really like is conferences. I feel like in the creative field, I never really thought about conferences for years, because you think of that as like a business thing, like, oh, teacher conferences and, technical conferences, I don't know, whatever else they have in the real world. But you make a good point that building that community and having mentors and things like that, you can really find those. And I've always felt like if I go to a conference, it kind of resets my passion.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like unmotivated or stuck, like just getting in that space with other people in your field can fire you up. So Awesome.
Yeah, I think honestly, even during a pandemic, any change you can make to your normal routine is going to be a positive one. So like I said, even you could Google right now photography challenges and a ton of stuff will pop up, and just pick something you haven't done. Like it can be literally that simple, and that could get you going on a whole new thing.
Yeah. And even like you were doing with the jewelry, you were taking photographs of your jewelry. It just adds to your resume. Like you can take photographs of anything you can do. So I think that just keep going and keep doing the passion as much as you can, even painting, you know. I think that's really, really good. So where do you see yourself No, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm even photographing the paintings, and I've used the abstract images from the paintings to create a Redbubble store. So you can literally buy like leggings or a sweatshirt with something I've like painted on it or something I photographed. So like I'm definitely I'm finding really interesting, weird ways to take my photography and just kind of like weave it into all the other things I'm doing.
That is so interesting. I was wondering what Redbubble. So is Redbubble a website that you went on, or do you have like a specific business towards that now?
Redbubble is really for any creative. What they do is it's almost like an Etsy, but all you're doing is you're designing the products that they already have. So they kind of have like blank products, and then you go in with your designs or your vision and you design on those products, and then you can offer those in your store. So then you also get to set your prices, but you get, whatever the commission is off of items that sell. So they get that base price for that item standard, and then you get whatever on top of that you've charged for whatever you've designed.
That's so cool. How like cool. You've literally taken like every passion you have and have just made it into like this tangible thing. That's so amazing.
I'm trying.
I know you got it. You're doing it.
What kind of mistakes do you feel like you made that you would tell people to avoid, or maybe that you did avoid?
I think because I thought about going to college for photography, but I decided not to, because classroom learning is not really my jam necessarily. I am a weird little unicorn that in third grade somehow figured out what homeschooling was. I had been going to private school and asked my mom, hey, here's like a bullet point presentation as to why I should be homeschooled starting next year. And like, she was kind of like, okay, that's valid. And from fourth grade on through high school, I was homeschooled. And
really?
So, yeah.
I had no idea.
Totally independently learned, did correspondence through high school with a high school here in Illinois, and just never set foot in the building basically, and did everything by correspondence. Because then I had time for my passions. I could go to shows and take photos and, stay out late and, do all the things I really wanted to do. Whereas being in a classroom, learning in that setting was not my strongest learning suit, and it just wasn't my jam.
I think so, knowing yourself like that's crazy, because like I was probably too afraid, to even like mention something. Like that wasn't even on the radar for me.
Yeah,
but having that,
like it's so
girl, this is way before the internet. I don't know how I knew what homeschooling was in third grade. Like I am 37 years old now. I had to like think about it. I'm 37 years old. I didn't have a cell phone until I was 21. I don't know how.
That's crazy.
In third grade, I knew what homeschooling was.
And to make be like this, it's what.
Yeah, I had like points.
Point.
I had like 5. I still like vaguely remember. Like I remember the points. Like I know what I told my mother that convinced her to homeschool me. And like what a weird kid.
But also
like I'm about it, but like
I was gonna say what a smart kid.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I mean, even just to educate yourself, you probably had your mom there as a resource, but that's so smart, because I didn't realize how much freedom I could have until I got to college. Like I got to college and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting sleep. I'm doing more things that I want to do in college than I ever have in high school. Yeah. Like I had resources in high school, which is great, but it was like, that's a really good point. We're going to tell all the kids that are listening to this, like if there are kids listening to this, they're going to be like, they're going to quit school. homeschool's better.
You can make it through this pandemic and learn at home. I have done it. I did it pre-internet. You'll be fine.
I will say in hindsight, I don't think I needed my college degree at all. In fact, I know I didn't, because an acting degree is basically a professional waitressing degree. And I feel like I would have learned more traveling or doing things like that in the world. Yeah. But we're so used to like the traditional path that we are told we're supposed to take growing up. And, you know, good for you for knowing that that's not for you.
And I think it's important to investigate it, you know, to really like, try to know that. Like, looking back, it was definitely not a mistake for me to not go to college for photography, because I feel like I would have had a professor in my ear for the rest of my life, kind of editing my voice and my work. And that's not what I need. What I probably should have done, looking back at it, is, again, if I had looked at what my strong suit is versus what it is not, business is not my strong suit. So it would not have hurt me to go and get like a business degree. Even at a community college, just like some business courses, that would have been the smartest move. Go do all your artistic things, but just get a little bit of business knowledge and then shoot for the moon. Like, that to me is, if you're just a creative and you're like, I'm not about that, that's probably your smartest thing to do. It's just to go learn a little bit about business so you can monetize your creativity more effectively, and then go.
Even if you don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Be creative. Like, even I said, if I were to go back to school, it would be for business and marketing. Sure. Like the two things that just don't come natural to creatives.
Absolutely.
I agree. So where do you see all your businesses in 5 years or just in the future after no pandemic, like reality?
Please and thank you. No pandemic. Please and thank you. Let it not come back. Let it go away. Hopefully just succeeding. I mean, I would like to just keep on going with everything, you know, and that's a blessing to be able to say, you know, I've spent some years now just doing my creative pursuits and haven't had to go the day job route, you know, like, so that in and of itself is a blessing. I'm thankful every day I don't have to split myself between those two modes. So I'm hoping that continues, and I'm hoping to build enough of a system and a security net within those businesses where, you know, I can have a life, maybe someday, without quitting artistic things, because I think I'll be doing that till I die. Not having to take jobs based on money, but based on want would be the dream. You know what I mean? To take assignments that are just exactly in your line versus something you might need to, you know, make a bill happen or rent.
That's such a good point. Well, anything else you want to share? This has been so good. I love hearing from creative people.
It's always fulfilling to connect with other creative people. It's awesome. So thank you guys for talking to me. This has been really fun.
And like the passion, that's honestly, I feel like creatives just always, and it's always similar with different creatives, even if it's a different thing that they're doing. I love that too.
So where can people find you and see all of your different work?
Yes. I will give you guys, you know, links to everything so you can check it out. But the jewelry is on Instagram at SkyXStone Jewelry. So you can find that on Instagram. It doesn't have a website at the moment, so I'm just going off of the IG. It's been working so far. It does have a Facebook, same name. And then the photography is sontagphotography.com. And I just launched, of course, during the pandemic, time to make the new website, weddingsbyblue.com. So that is my wedding brand focused on elopements, now micro weddings because pandemic, and also, you know, destinations when that's available and we're capable of doing so. So all kinds of fun adventure-y photography.
That's so cool. Well, we'll definitely be linking to all of that stuff below. So thank you so much for being on the show. This has been really awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And don't forget, guys, if you are listening to us, give us 5 stars, leave us a good review on all of the different podcast platforms that you're listening on. And if you want to check out the video and check out her awesome blue hair, this is going to be on YouTube as well. So I'm one of your hosts, Monica Ortega.
And I'm Kristen Herman.
And thank you so much, Blue, for being on the show.
Thanks, Blue.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Monica.